Hey there guys, Mark here from Soarfly Concepts and welcome back to the channel. In the last video we looked at how to acquire all the tools you need to start making scenery. Now something I did miss out was an image editor, but I have put a link in the description of that video for a free image editor. There's also a link in this one. It's same thing, just GIMP. It's basically Photoshop but free. Now something else I want to mention before we jump into this is that the techniques that I'm demonstrating are for simple scenery design. They are in no way at all for advanced scenery design or anything like that. So please, if you're going to comment on the videos with like some ideas and things like that, that's absolutely fine. But just remember, your opinion is your opinion. No one else's. I mean, that's partially why I don't like talk about X-plane sceneries and things like that, because there's so many people on the planet who are like, oh, X-plane's amazing, go to X-plane, never look back. Just annoy me. Anyway, in this video we're going to be looking at how to meld all of those products together. So we're going to be looking at Airport Design Editor, we're going to be looking at Model Converter X, and we're also going to be looking at SketchUp. In that, we're also going to be looking at the image editing software. I'm going to be using Photoshop, but you can use GIMP. That's absolutely fine. Everything I mentioned in the last video is completely free of charge. That includes Blender, by the way. So we're going to jump straight in and start using Airport Design Editor. Now for me, it's in my recent projects. For you, it will be in Stock Airport. So click Open Stock Airport, type in EGNT, click on Find, and then just double click on the airport that pops up, which should be Newcastle. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to get this as well, which is the surround. The link for this little software is going to be in the description. It's also free, so don't worry about that. This little software is called FS Earth Tiles. Go, it loads up. Okay, and all you do is you scroll through an area of interest. So let's just say, let's have a look here. Yeah, let's just say Luton for now. Right, you scroll into Luton, you click on Draw, you draw around the area you want, and click on Start. That will download a series of images for you. If you want to only download one image, you can turn off Create Masks. But yeah, make sure these are all set this way. So you want service, whatever service you're using, FSX for the compiler, you want area snap to be off, and you want create mask to be either yes or no, depending on what you want to create. Now, I only want one image, so I'm going to turn create masks to no. Compile scenery, we've got that set to no because we're only after the imagery. And use cache, it really doesn't matter. You can leave that to yes or no, it's up to you. Now, once you have completed all of this, you can change your folder names up here. I just like to put slash and then the name of the airport I'm working on. So in this case, it'd be slash and then Luton. That's Bristol's iCal, you idiot. Luton 1. I don't know if I've already done the thing. So Luton 1. Okay, and once you're done, you can go ahead and click Start. Do you want to clear out the cache? It doesn't matter. And that will compile a series of images into one large image. Okay, that is done. So I compiled Newcastle in exactly the same way. I just did this to show you how to do it. Newcastle is made in exactly the same way. I just went to Newcastle, drew around it, made sure all of these were correct, changed my folder names, and clicked Start. Okay? So that's how I got this image. How I got it positioned perfectly, well, that comes with this. So right click on the screen, hover over Add, click on Image. And click on the Browse button, and here we have Newcastle. Okay, so just double click on Newcastle. If it's larger than 7.5 meg, you're going to get this warning. If it's bigger than 100 meg, it's going to say it's not an image file, okay? So make sure the image is smaller than 100 meg, and if you can help it, under 7.5, but still. Just click OK, and click on Enter Corner Coordinates. and go find that particular folder. Work, EGNT, there it is. Okay, and it's this guy here. You want the area snap. Right, so there we have our corner coordinates. We have the longitude and the latitude. So just pop them into there. And once you are done, you can click on OK, or should I say save. And this will pop up on your screen in the perfect place. Now with FS default scenery, usually the runway is in the actual correct position. You don't need to worry about it. This was the case with Newcastle. It was in the correct position. What you're going to want to do after that is delete everything else. Let me just get rid of that building because that's terrible. What you're going to do after that is delete everything else. I have moved the tower to where the tower viewpoint actually is, and I've raised it up. Okay, and I've gone around the taxiways and the aprons using an asphalt apron. Right, so that's our airport design editor set up, in a way. What I want to do now is I want to go into SketchUp. Now the reason why you position this image first is, well, it helps you with scale. Okay, so here we are in SketchUp. Just open our ADE back up and double click on the base image. Okay, here we have our width and our height. This is in meters, so we can use that in SketchUp to find how big the box needs to be. So I'm just going to pop that over there, just so I can see it. And we're going to get a box. Okay, and it is 3220.9, comma, 1618, 0. Okie dokie. And we want to reverse the faces. Scroll out. Position. Click on our little line tool there and draw a line across the midpoint. Go back to our pointer tool. Triple click. Click on move. And just drag it into the center. Okay, so what we have now is we have our actual image size in a box form. So if we want to go like that, click on the new material tab here, the new material button. Click on the open folder in this new dialog and go find that image. There it is. All right, let's call it something funky. Like that, make it nice and big, and fill it in there. Right click on the image, click on texture, then click on position, and just drag it into position. Now you're going to find the image is slightly small, don't worry about it, just right click and turn off fixed pins, and just pin it to the edges. Got a bit too far on this side, haven't I? There we go. Ah, for God's sake. Okay, once that's done, click on the item 3 times, right click, and make a group. Okay, you can now start drawing on top of this without it affecting anything. So let's do that now. Let's start drawing on top of it. Okay, so that's there. Right, just using our line tool first. So just map out where the buildings are, like so. Now, I'm not doing this professionally, so please do take your time. I will show you how to get a higher quality image in a bit. But for now, we're going to be using this technique simply because we can line things up quickly. Okay, I clicked on the push and pull tool here. Okay, now this is not accurate. Like I said, I'm just going by what I can see on the image. Probably in real life, it's a completely different shape, but yeah, well, I know in real life it's a completely different shape. For I have been there. So I'm just using a combination of the line and the push and pull tool to get the shape I want. Obviously, you can do a lot more than this. You can go a bit more wild if you like, but that for now is the basic shape of the terminal building. Okay, we're also going to do a couple more things around the area. So we're going to do a couple of little smaller buildings down here. So again, just follow around using the line tool. Okay, if you move your mouse slightly, you'll get a snap to perpendicular to edge, so use that. It'll make sure all the edges are straight and there's no problems. Okay, eraser tool, push and pull, and up we go. It looks like this building had a bit of a sloped roof like that, so we'll do that. Okay, so I'm literally just using a combination of the line tool, the push and pull tool, and when I need it, the eraser tool. So you don't really need to use too many tools inside SketchUp to make it work properly. You can just jump straight in and you pretty much instantly know what you're doing. It's so self-explanatory, it's amazing. Okay, now the reason why we've got this image on the bottom here is not only as a guide, so we know where to draw and things like that, but once we remove this, everything will be in the right place. So let's go ahead and texture a couple of things. Let's make a few, or just make a generic texture for now. Right, so with Photoshop open, let's go ahead and pop it into a texture size we can work with. Flight Sim uses power of 2 textures, so you can have anything from 2, 4, 6, 8, you know the drill. In fact, let's have a look, shall we? This is a real example of exponential growth, so 2 times. See how quickly it gets big? But yeah, you can use anything from like 2, 4, 8, 16, blah blah blah. But yeah, the textures we're going to be focusing on are going to be 1024 pixels by 1024. So just set that into your new box and click OK. And that will open a canvas which is 1024 pixels wide by 1024 pixels high eventually. There we go. Now we just want to make a generic texture, so we're not going to be going mental. Now with SketchUp you can make your texture sheets as intricate or as unintricate as you like. I'm just going to be making a generic texture, so let's just select and go on to new layer. And let's just paint that. Pattern overlay. Okay, now we're going to want to add a little bit of shading to this texture, so let's go ahead and do that now. Now we can now make some windows. Doesn't have to be anything amazing, you can just make a couple of windows. Like that. Make sure we're set to new layer. And I like using a soft, not exactly opaque brush, but I like using a soft brush that's not completely opaque. That's just personal preference, you can do whatever you like. Okay, and when you're ready, save as the TIFF image. Make sure it goes into the right place. So for us, it'll be textures. There we go. We'll just call it Newcastle Terminal or Term, whatever. And there we have it. We have our TIFF image saved. We can close Photoshop or your image editor of choice. And here's our building. Just go ahead and click on the material file and search for it. It's in pictures, it's in textures, and it's called Newcastle. There it is. Call it _term1 because we can. Right, unlink these two and change it to a nice square size, so 10 by 10 for example. Right. Now, in order to paint your textures on, you can either click on the texture in your material editor like that and just paint around the edges, or you can click on, say if you've got the line tool selected, you can click on the photo tool, the paint bucket tool should I say, and you can paint with that. There it is. Make sure your texture is selected that you want to paint with though. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, that's not quite lined up, I don't like it. Well, just right click on the face and click on texture, go to position, turn on those fixed pins, and you can make the texture uniform scale like so. And we're just going to be using the bottom one for now. A little bit bigger. That's gone well. Okay, and when you're happy, press enter and click on the little dropper tool here and you can select the texture and you can just paint it all the way around if you wish. Now I am just making a very, very basic building here. You are going to want to take your time, put a little bit more effort into things. You don't just want to paint a building in one texture like I'm doing. You're going to want to use, well, you're going to want to use one texture, but you're going to want to put some variation in it. So for example here, I might say, well, we can use the top texture. Just make sure it lines up properly. There we go. Now, like I said, I have just done this very, very quickly to show you what you need to do. You will want to take more time than I'm taking. Don't just jump into SketchUp and start painting things with random textures. Although I do have a video on Model Converter X having some pretty powerful tools to fix multiple textures in a model. But if you can, try and avoid it. Now I've got two buildings in this scenery now. I'm going to make them all a group by selecting them like that. Right clicking on one and click on Make Group. Then we have our group of buildings. I want to make sure every surface that we can possibly see is textured. Don't worry about the underneath, because you can't see that in the sim. Oh, there's one there. So to go into the group, just double click onto it. There we go. I think that's everything. I think. Don't quote me on that. I think. Right, so right click on the main image and click on hide, leaving you with two buildings and the center point right over here. Now, that will become apparent in a minute. So first we want to go on File, Export 3D Model. Now, if you're using SketchUp Pro, you're going to get a lot more export options here. If you're using SketchUp Make, I think you're only going to get one or two. One of them is going to be Collidifile, and the other one, I think, is... I don't know. But yeah, one of them is definitely Collidifile, so you want to go ahead and export as Collider. So just go ahead, EGNT, let's call it term 1. Okay, now that's exporting. What we want to do now is we want to go into Model Converter X, and we want to import that particular piece of scenery into Model Converter X. So it's in Documents. There it is. Now, collider files take a couple of seconds to load into Model Converter X, depending on how many textures there are, and of course how big the file is itself. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to try and keep the file sizes as small as you possibly can, but at the same time include as much detail as you possibly can. So if we click on this guy here with the object information, we can see we've got 204 triangles. Triangles is polygons. We've got 204 polygons. Okay, and we've got two textures. We've got our generic texture and our roofing texture. So if we click on the material editor, right, we just delete the default color because we don't need that. We're not going to see it. And here we have our roofing texture and our Newcastle term 1. So that's absolutely fine. So just go into textures, go down to DXT. You can choose DDS if you like. I just use DXT because it's something I do. I've already got the file set to go to Newcastle texture. You would want to do something like that. You want to go into here, and you're going to want to make sure it's set to go to a specific folder, which has access to the scenery folder as well. So don't export straight to your flight sim because that can cause problems. Export to a separate location first so you can test things. Because if something goes wrong, you can take something out of flight sim and say, that's the issue, I've got to tweak that model. So yeah, I've got mine set to go to EGNT texture. When you're ready, just click on save. There we go. They are now saved as DXT. You can see my HD roofing texture is 4096 by 4096. That's quite a big texture, so if we just zoom in on that, you can see in SketchUp it looked like absolute garbage. It's all blurry, not quite right. But in Model Converter X, it looks a bit better. Right, so when you're ready, go ahead and click on Export. Really got one in there from when I tried last night. Just save that. Finished writing. Very good. Okay, so that is now exported. What we want to do is want to bring it back into Model Converter X. There we go, just like that. And now we can start applying our special textures if we need to. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to tweak things a little bit. I'm going to turn off the bloom because we don't need bloom. And that's all the tweaking I'm going to do, really. What you would want to do is you'd want to focus on like stacking all these textures up. So you want a specular texture, you're going to want a bump texture as well. Okay. So when you're done with that, you can close that. That is all ready to rumble. Last but not least, we want to click on Earth Curve Corrector. Because in FSX and P3D, the Earth is actually a 3D model. It's a sphere. The closer you get to certain things, like the more detailed they become, for example, like terrain mesh and whatnot. But in Model Converter X, you can correct for things like that. So if the airport's very long, like most airports tend to be, you can correct for like curved earth. So make sure it's set to apply round earth correction to geometry and animations. There are no animations, but still, and just click on correct. Don't worry about all of these. Okay, that is now corrected, and you'll see a little pin appear over here. This is an attached object, basically saying Model Converter X has corrected the geometry. It's now perfectly flat to the earth. It's not just perfectly flat. When you're happy, go ahead and click export one more time. Just overwrite the existing. And there we are finished. So if we go back into Airport Design Editor, we can see where the building is going to go. It's going to go here. And also our little cabin down here. But how do we get that positioned correctly? Well, let me show you. Like I said in the first video, Airport Design Editor has access to some generic buildings. It also has access to library objects, and you can place them. So let's make a library of objects. Clicking down here to Library Creator XML, just click on New. And just drag our term1.mdl into there and click on Save Library. Click on the Browse button, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to save it into the folder that you're exporting from. So let's go ahead and just call it Newcastle. I've already called it Newcastle Buildings. Oopsie. EGNT Buildings. That's fine. Save. And the second one should automatically go to the right place. So just call it EGNT Buildings 2, because I've already done this before. Testing, testing. And save. What we need to do now is click on Tools in Airport Design Editor. Go down to Library Object Manager. Click on Add File. And go find the one we just made, which is EGNT Buildings. Here we go, got one object 0 already in database. Click OK to process. Now click Save. If you don't click Save, it doesn't work. Right click on the screen, hover over Add, and click on Library Object. Go down to the library we just made, which is the EGNT Buildings. We have it there, term 1, click Add, and there is our terminal. So in order to get this positioned absolutely correctly, we're going to use the background image as a reference. So click on Set by Drag once you open up the options for it. To do that, just click on it once and press Enter, or double click on the image. And copy the coordinates. Just double click on you. Paste. Click OK. Okay, Set by Drag. Copy. Cancel. Double click on you, paste, and click OK. Right, so that is now in the correct place. That is now exactly where it should be. Right, so that's pretty much the basics of making scenery. We're going to test this in Flight Sim to make sure everything looks okay, and it'll also give us an idea of what's coming up in the next video. But as of right now, we are pretty much sorted for making scenery. Like, you know how to make a generic object, you know how to position the imagery correctly in Airport Design Editor. We still have the taxiways and things to link up, but we can do that in a bit. As of right now, I just want to test to make sure that this scenery is coming together. So we want to go to File, Compile Airport. And you want to make sure it's going to the right place. So I've already had mine set from last night because, I'm that kind of person. But what you want to do is you want to make sure it's going to the same output folder that your original library folder was going to. Like, where Model Converter X saved the model to, and where your Library Creator XML saved the library to. You're going to want to make sure it's going to the right place. So, to a specific folder, click on Browse to find the folder in question. And because we're compiling airport scenery and object scenery, make sure Compile Separate Airport and Object BGL Files is checked. When you're ready, compile. Okay, now save. Can now close that. So before we streak ahead to anything amazing, this is what Newcastle kind of looks like in the real world. Obviously the model is a lot more advanced. There's a lot more things that go into it. So you can do pretty much anything you need to do in SketchUp to make a model look more advanced, like this does. However, you don't need to worry too much if you can't make things look great. However, you will get to this point. You will get to this point and you'll think to yourself, I know exactly what I need to do. This needs to be this shape. This needs to be that shape. And you'll get to where you need to be. As of right now, though, we don't need SketchUp open anymore. That was simply just to show you. Okay, so what I've done now is I have made a new folder inside my Flight Sim scenery folders. I've gone into the FSX main folder, and in there I do have my Soarfly concept scenery folder, and I've just made Newcastle, and inside Newcastle I've made a scenery and a texture folder. I'm now just copying everything I need into that scenery and texture folder, so do that. So inside our scenery folder we've got the 3 items we've exported. And inside our texture folder, there'll be a few more textures in there because I picked on Newcastle in the past. But yeah, most of what you see in there is just what I've done in the past. What we need to focus on now are the new sort of things. So Newcastle Term 1 BMP, the HD roofing, which is missing. There it is. Everything that we need is now inside Flight Sim. Let's go in there and check it quickly. So when you first start up Flight Sim, you're going to have building database for new scenery files. This is going to come up, and this is a good sign. It means Flight Sim is detecting there is new scenery files in its database, and it's loading them. Anyway, so once you have Flight Sim loaded, what you're going to want to do is you want to click on Settings. You're going to need to activate that scenery area. I've already got it active, but let me show you quickly how to do so. Click on Scenery Library, click on Add Area, and what you want to do is you want to find the folder in question. So Soarfly Concept Scenery, it's in Newcastle. There you go. So click on Newcastle once, click on OK, and then click in the white space here. And what will happen is it will just appear at the top of your scenery library. You click OK and it will install. Let's go change our location to Newcastle, or Egneter as it's better known. Make sure the time is daytime just so we can see, and fly now. Okay, so here we are inside Flight Sim. What I want to do is I want to edge forward in a little ultralight and go into slew mode. Go up a little bit. There we are. Okay, so if we look over here, we'll see our very generic terminal building. A couple of ground polygons from a previous attempt. And over here we have our little standalone shed. I don't really want to call it anything else. It's a shed pretty much, isn't it? Okay, so over here we have our generic terminal building. Over there we have our little standalone hangar shed thing. And of course our basic AFCAD scenery. In the next video, I'll be talking more about taxiways and like actually preparing your AFCAD, making things look a little bit more realistic, should I say. I'm going to point it out right now that this series of videos is not focusing on making advanced scenery at all, so you're not going to see things like PBR or whatnot in this. This is simply focusing on FSX. The methods that I'm describing can be used for FS 2004 as well, except for the round Earth correction, because in FS 2004, the Earth is flat. Bit contradictory, but it's flat. Anyway guys, my name is Mark from Soarfly Concepts. If you liked this video, let me know by hitting the like button. If you didn't like this video, go ahead and hit the dislike button. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We're over 1,000 subs now, and I am happy. But yes, hit the subscribe button to become one of my long-term subscription buddies, whatever the hell that means. And even if you didn't like it, do that anyway, and hit that notification icon as well, just so you can be notified every time a new video comes out you don't like. Anyway guys, my name is Mark from Soarfly Concepts. You have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.